Hello guys, I am just adding Brittany here. Let's get her butt in here. If I can type properly. There she is. Did I do it? There she is.
Hi, my friend.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? I'm turning you up. It's already Monday again. I love this.
Oh my God, it comes so quickly. It gets here so fast.
Ooh, and I like your nails too.
Oh, thank you.
You're so fancy.
Christmas already. The tree is already up.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I know we put our tree up, I think, last week,
Really?
so I've got some final decorating to do. But come on, 'tis the season. Why not?
I know. And I feel like time is a little strange. I've talked about this to some of my clients. They agree that like time feels a little weird this year. It almost feels like it's closer to Christmas than it already is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know
All right,
why.
my friend, what are we talking about today?
Okay, so we are talking about how do you distinguish the difference between needing clarity or just allowing your fear of failure to kind of keep you from moving forward towards that thing that you want. Does that make sense? Was that clear?
Here, I'm putting it in the comments. So
Oh,
needing
okay.
clarity, or is it it fear of
Yeah.
failure, or maybe it's even both, and like how you navigate that.
Right, because and I'll give a little context.
Yeah.
And I'll actually tell a little bit of my story. Hello from
I
Tanzania.
love this.
Wow.
And Tyranny's already decorated too. That does make me feel better.
So that's three of us. Got it. I think a lot
Okay,
of
go.
people are ahead of the game this year.
Okay, tell us what's going on. Yeah.
So, for example, shiny object syndrome is coming up for me and also for some of my clients where, for example, there was one point where I want to build my coaching business. I want to buy real estate, but then I also want to go get a master's in women's studies and sexuality. And so I go into my meeting with my money coach and I'm like, hey, yo, Troy, I am going to go back to school for blah, 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 blah. And he was like, okay, he was very calm and very patient. And I was expecting more of a reaction. And
Troy.
love Troy. And he was like, okay, well, explain to me how going back to school for X, Y, and Z is going to help you achieve these other goals that you set for yourself faster and more efficiently. And I was like, I had no answer. So it was really obvious to me in that moment that I was looking for a distraction because the thing that I really wanted was hard, was not happening fast enough. And I wanted something else to make me feel like I was making a little bit of progress faster, right? And so I saw and I see my clients doing that sometimes. And so again, it's like we might already know, we might already have the clarity and know what it is we want, but we're maybe not putting ourselves 100% into it because we're fearing that we're going to fail. We're scared of failing. So we're
Or
like, "Oh, we're going to go a little bit and then I'm going to put some energy over here just in case."
Yep. Or exactly like what you said, we go after the easy carrot. But the easy carrot doesn't always mean that that's going to be the most impactful
Right.
or the thing that we really truly want the most. And I love how you asked that question and reframed it for you too, because I think to your point, like about going and pursuing these other things, like would they feel good? Heck yes. Would they like potentially contribute to some of the goals?
Yeah.
Maybe, but that just goes back to into that prioritization of okay, what do I really truly want?
Mm-hmm.
And those things that I've identified that I really truly want, those are based off of like the things that are most important to me, the values that I have, like the deep desires for my life, right? Like that's how you set those goals to begin with. So regardless of how far or close they feel, I feel like we still owe it to hold space for those big goals. And I think that that's also the importance between why it's so important to have the long term and the short term goals, because short term goals help us continue and lean in and generate that momentum. But
Yeah.
I know that none of that answers your questions. I just had to spew all of those thoughts that immediately came out. But answering your question back to like, at what point in time do we start convincing ourselves that, oh, well, maybe that big goal, maybe that's shifted a little bit, or maybe I'm not really quite sure anymore.
Or maybe
If
I
that's
need
really
to
want.
do, or maybe I need, because you said the easy carrot, right? Maybe I need to do the easy carrot first to like generate income, or maybe I need to do the easy carrot, to generate leads, or maybe I need to
Mm-hmm.
do, right? Finding excuses to do the easy carrot. I like that
Yeah.
phrase.
Yeah.
First, but like again, how do you know if it's just an avoidance and maybe even a self-sabotage
Mm-hmm.
versus like, yeah, I really need to do that. I mean, I guess it's going to be different depending on everybody's situation, but yeah, it's just an interesting kind of
Well, I
maze
think
to go in.
I think part of it too. So here, raise your hand if you have ever done the I'll take the easy dangling carrot route first. Oh, okay. See, so it's normal.
Okay.
It's normal for us to all want to like write the path of least resistance.
True. Yes.
Of course we want the path of least resistance. Okay, also too, raise your hand if that quick little carrot thing actually satisfied the deeper need. Oh my.
No, no, not a raised
Dang
hand.
it. I know. Samesies. Samesies. So
Yeah.
it's like, I do think sometimes we distract ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Again, not to say that there wouldn't be benefit in it, but so we distract ourselves. And then I guess part of the challenge, why? Why do we do it? Is it fear of
Fear.
failure?
Yeah, I think so.
Path of least resistance, fear of failure.
Yeah, because it's also like the path of least resistance. Again, that equates to risk, right? If we're going down the easier path, it means that we're risking less and there's less to fear, obviously. And so, right,
Mm-hmm.
if we're just going 100% into that big thing, that big priority, the thing that we really want, we have a lot to lose there. We've like maybe even losing our identity or like what we thought our life was going to look like.
Mm-hmm. Trying to see what everybody
Yeah.
else thinks. There,
Any comments, guys?
path of least resistance, fear of failure. I think about how, and two, I think just, man, you've got me really thinking about some of the maybe bigger goals that I have right now
Mm-hmm.
and how um, it's really truly only been in the last week where I've kind of started giving myself even some tough love where it's like, suck it up, buttercup. The goal is here. Like,
Mm-hmm.
let's keep eye on the prize. Stop with all of the noise. Stop with all of the distractions. Stop with all of the, I should be doing this.
Yeah.
And eyes on the prize. And so something that I'm going back to, it served me well previously, is that one of the very, very first things that I'll do in the morning is so I take care of myself, which is like journaling or reading. But then as far as from a work perspective, what I'm doing is my MIP, my most important project.
Mm-hmm.
So nothing else. And again, I've deviated from this before, but I think this is what I need to keep eye on the prize, that I have to make some type of progress on my most important project before I do any of the maybe easier
That's
things.
a good rule. That's a good rule.
Mhm.
How do you determine what's enough progress to then move on to something else?
Anything. I know sometimes
Did
that sounds set. I know that sounds so silly, but it's like, hey, did I do something?
I
Even
move the
if it's like,
needle?
yeah, did I move the needle? Hi,
Hi,
South
South
Beach.
Beach.
Yeah, did I move the needle? And sometimes it's like, hey, I wrote for 5 minutes. I'm off the hook.
Yeah.
It's not coming in naturally, creatively. Like today, this feels forced, but at least I did 5 minutes on my MIP, and now I can move on.
Yeah. Yeah. It's reminding me of like making the bed. Like you do that
Yes.
one little thing in the morning and you immediately feel accomplished. So if you do that one, even if it's a little tiny thing, sending that email, sending that text message, that phone call, whatever, on your most important project, then you can
Yeah.
kind of feel like, okay, that needle has moved. Now I can, if I take my focus off of that, put it onto something else, it's not a total
Yeah.
loss. Can you give, and also I want to say hi to Gato.
I
But also, can you give an example of like something that has been distracting you from that bigger goal, or if you want to even share what that bigger goal is that you've been.
Yeah. So, for instance, I would much rather, it is a heck of a lot easier for me to sit there and self educate, like read my little self help book, than to actually get off of my tushy
Uh,
and get in front of my computer and
uh,
take the appropriate action that I need to. So, there's, I find myself, it's like, okay, hey, I've read a chapter. This is a good stopping point so that I can actually get into work, because not that one doesn't serve, like they serve different purposes. It's not one over another for
right.
me. What about you? How do you
Oh, but that also was such a good example because I find that that's, so many people who suffer from analysis paralysis, that's sort of the feeling of like, I just need more information. I just need to educate. I need to learn more. I need blah, blah, blah. And then they never actually get started. So I think
Yeah.
that's an interesting example. Um, what do I do? Well, it's occurred to me before with my coaching business that is it possible that I'm using the podcast as a distraction?
Oh, I do that.
Yeah, but I've actually seen how the podcast is helping me. So it's not really, I don't think that it's really a distraction any longer. I think it is like a good, solid piece of the entire puzzle.
Yeah.
But it did occur to me, and I think maybe in the very beginning that might have been like that was easier. That was the path of least resistance
Yes.
for all the pieces of the business. And again, sometimes maybe it is like maybe it is like a, you got to work your way up to that big scary thing, but I think you also kind of need to be aware that you're doing that.
You know what's coming up is just how you're saying, like, I think it's okay to work on the easy thing too.
Hmm.
That I don't think that easy always necessarily means less valuable.
Okay, gotta
So,
write it
like,
down.
going back to kind of how it was like, okay, hey, the time that I'm taking for myself to read and to recharge, like that is in a different capacity. That is just as valuable as sitting my butt in front of the computer and taking action on my big goal. They serve different purposes. And also too, I think about, like, sometimes that thing that is coming so easy to you, like sometimes isn't that kind of an indication of being in a flow state? Even if you're
That's so
moving a
good.
mountain, even if you are moving a mountain, it doesn't have to always be so dang hard. Less is more speech. Yeah. I think that's
Okay.
okay too.
Okay, wait. This is so good because so reading a client's notes, I thought it was so obvious what the direction they actually wanted to go in was,
Mm-hmm.
because that's the conversation that kept coming up, right? Like that's the description of like their perfect day and what they really wanted. It was the same stuff coming up. So it seemed like that would be the flow, right? That would be the path that came easily for them. But then through conversation, the person was like, no, I actually don't want that at all. I want this over here. And that moment of clarity was really
Mm-hmm.
powerful. And I think too, you have to stop in that moment because we're always talking, right? We're always like talking
Noise.
ourselves in or out of it. And
Yeah.
so when you have that moment where you're like, yes, this feels good. I mean, like the conversation we had the other day about the full body yes,
Yes.
um I think stopping and really acknowledging that and
Yeah.
allowing yourself to then get into that flow.
Agreed. Agreed. Yeah. Just being present enough to like take that pause and to
Yeah.
kind of like do the do the check, do the recalibration of like, hey, this actually feels really good. Is there more I can do here?
Yeah.
or again, or even to asking ourselves like, okay, hey, why does this feel easy? And the same, hey, why does this particular task feel hard? Like, is it? And then that goes back to, if we're sitting there and like, hey, this particular task feels hard, is it because you really are lacking clarity? Is it because you really are just, there's a fear of failure that you're working there? Is it hard because it's going to be maybe time bound, that's simply like out, maybe a little more out of your control, and that's hard for us to accept sometimes, like how long certain things take to come to fruition. That's exercising that patience muscle that we all seem to have so much of.
um South Beach, you're resonating with that. The less is more, the path of least resistance, go with the flow, see how it
Mm-hmm.
feels. The patience, yeah, but then again, right, another question is just like, how quick should it be happening? What is that timeline? If you're doing something for 3 months and you're not getting any positive feedback, what if you are getting
Mm-hmm.
positive feedback but you're just not acknowledging it, you're not giving yourself credit for it? Like, oh, there's so many different things that make it really hard to feel clear around what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've got a comment. It says sometimes we have to listen to ourselves, but it doesn't necessarily mean we understood what we
So
listened to. Yeah, because it can
good.
get really noisy,
Yeah.
really noisy. And two, it's that I don't know, when you ask that question, Melissa, like I think that was one of those times where I was like, oh well, duh, it's you have a coach, or duh, you surround yourself with mentors who sometimes can see that outward perspective, because you get so into it, you're 3 months deep, you're like, I'm just going to keep chugging away, I'm just going to keep chugging away, I'm just going to keep chugging away. And sometimes it does take that outward perspective to just be like, hey, you've been doing this
Mhm.
by now, based on like other things in the market, or based on other like other patterns. Maybe have you had at least this amount of success,
Mhm.
or how are you defining success? Like, are you moving the needle, or are you just
Right.
doing? Because just doing doesn't mean you're just being busy, doesn't mean you're actually being
And
productive.
on that note, just because you can do something, just because like you are capable of doing something, doesn't mean you should be spending your
Yeah.
time doing that,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes just because like opportunities pop up, that's great. And we want more of those opportunities, but it doesn't mean that every opportunity is a yes.
Yes. Yes. Okay, this is gonna, for me, this is already like, this is one of our live talks where I'm like, I'm gonna have to go back and listen to it, because I feel like there's about 14 different topics
I
that
know.
you and I could like
I
really.
feel like I keep taking it to a different direction, and I'm sorry.
I
Tiny
know.
objects.
Nice, yeah, shiny objects, right?
Yeah. But South Beach is agreeing with something, so I like it.
Oh, okay. So let's go back, because originally we wanted, all of this was stemming from a client that was kind of had presented almost herself two different options of, hey, I think I need more clarity, or hey, are you sure you're not just fearful? So
Yeah.
right, like that's kind of where the client was
And
sitting.
there's so much, guys. There's so much because like we create these truths in our mind. Like for example, for me, because I owned, let's say, a coffee shop or the bar, now going forward, if I were to open another one of those, I would have these like black and white kind of opinions or rules in my
Mhm.
mind about, well, if this happens, it means that, or this is the only way I can do it, or this is. And so sometimes we don't realize how that blocks our ability to think bigger and to innovate in something new that we're doing. And so I might really want to start another restaurant, but I might not do it because I have all of these beliefs that are kind of now stuck in there,
Yeah,
contaminating things.
totally.
And so, to your point of getting this outside objective perspective from a coach or a mentor or somebody, I think that's super important because not only do we have our experiences that are kind of creating weeds potentially in our mind, but we also have other people telling us this is the right thing to do. That's why it didn't work out. This is what you should do next time. Ba, 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 ba. And you need to be able to suss through that and figure out what is true for you and what is just
Mm-hmm.
an assumption or like a story that you have now.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Did I take it on another tangent?
In
Didn't
such
I?
a good way, like you normally do. Yeah, those false, like those. Well, what's fear? False experiences appearing real.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
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 Oh,
Uh-huh.
and it reminds me of this book that's called Don't Believe Everything You Think,
Yeah.
which
Uh-huh.
is on YouTube for free, by the way.
Ooh.
And it's just it's reminding me of conversations that I've had recently where it's like based on our previous experience, we really believe these things are true, and it may not be, or there may be a lot of information that we just don't know
Yeah.
yet.
Is there a because you know I love stories. Is there a story or a specific example that you can give about like a time where you were really in it and it they were false beliefs or false perceptions and it took someone kind of almost like lifting your head out of it a little bit to be like, "Hey, what about this or what if you consider this reality?" I
That's
know.
a good question, and I don't know. I'm sure it's
Think about
happened.
it. I know. Yeah, I know it's happened for me too.
Do you
Um,
have one that's more at the surface?
um, okay, I don't know why this is coming through. I don't necessarily know if this is a good or a helpful story, but like I think about the perceptions, the false perceptions that I used to carry around like going to um personal development conferences. So like going to a powerhouse women conference, literally when someone invited me to that, I see it on your bag back there. Maybe that's what sparked it.
It is.
Like yeah, when someone first invited me to that, I laughed. I laughed. I thought it was a waste of money. You're paying for friends. You're paying to. Thanks for being here, South Beach. You're paying for friends. You're paying for like for pajama pictures. Like I just didn't understand, and it wasn't until
Pajama pictures. At first, I was like, "What is she talking about?"
what are
And
you
then I
talking about?
remembered.
I
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
I know. But it wasn't until I had a coach that was like, okay, consider this. And I think that she, provided an example of what happened when she had gone to a conference like that, how it really does
Okay.
just expose you to different reality. So maybe that would be an example that's coming through for me.
Yeah. And so now, so you laughed and you like kind of poo-pooed it
Totally.
initially, and then
Yes.
you went and or this person just made you see it in a different light, and then you enjoyed it
I
a
oh,
lot.
oh my gosh, yeah, I totally enjoyed it.
Okay.
And went back for my second time last year. I think I just saw
Oh,
the
that's
save the date for this year. I already put it on the
oh, I
calendar.
haven't done
Like,
that.
uh-huh. And you better come on, come
I got
on.
a lot of stuff going on this
No,
year.
yeah, I know it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Um, I mean, I have like the only thing that's coming up for me is like a tiny little example that's kind of similar to what you said, which is probably why it came up. Was like there's Entreprenista. Have you heard of that?
No.
It's a like a virtual group, I think. They probably do in-person events, but I've never been to one. And I actually interviewed a woman who was a member of it maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago, something on the podcast. And she was like, this is so great. Like, you need to do it. You can meet so many people. But I never did it. And it's always been this thing that's like in the back of my mind that, like, okay, yeah, maybe I'll do it eventually. Like, and then I keep almost doing it and then not. And so the other day I was talking to my money coach about it and telling him that I wanted to do it, kind of expecting him to be like, yeah, no, like it's not, you shouldn't put your money in that yet or whatever, whatever. But actually he was like, well, you need to invest in yourself. And I was like, oh shit.
Love story.
Yeah. I was like, okay, Troy, keep me on my toes here. Yeah. So
So sometimes
I guess it,
Yeah. Go ahead.
Jinx. Yeah, it's just about getting a mirror and having somebody bounce a different perspective back to you.
Yeah.
So coming back to the clarity thing, right? Like how do you get clarity? And with coaching, a lot of times it's not me or you, it's not us telling you what is right for you, it's us reflecting back what we're hearing, what we're seeing, what we're observing, so
Yeah.
that you can see something that maybe you didn't see before. And actually, I think that's what happened in my meeting with this client, is that I was reflecting back to her what I was seeing, but in actuality that's not what she
Not
wanted.
what she wanted, which is so huge. And I'm so glad that you brought that up, and you said it for the both of us, because I think that folks who have not yet been exposed to coaching, I think sometimes they think that when you hire a coach that they're going to tell you all the answers, and that's awful. That would be an awful coach who wouldn't actually be able to serve you. They would be serving whatever they were pushing, because actually getting into it. Hey, sweet Fergie.
Hey,
Actually
sweet,
getting
sweet
into
Fergie. Sorry to have to touch on that name a little bit.
actually getting into it's about being able to provide different perspectives, reflect it back, ask you questions that start to make you think, oh wait, hey, so you're saying, and if you look at your schedule, you're saying you want to do this, you're saying that you want to do this, you're saying, and have them go, well, son of a gun, that no, heck no, that ain't what I want. You're like,
Right.
but
That's it. Did you
so
hear yourself? Yeah. Yeah.
oh yes. All
Okay.
right, we've got so much stuff, and you had some serious good nuggets today.
So did you.
Contaminated.
I always write down quotes
I
from you. I like put
do.
so many tools in my toolbox from our
Hey,
conversations.
it's why we keep doing this. I
Mhm.
love like the contamination and the weeds visual. I just can't get that out of, like, that was so solid. I just so love you for that. And
Yeah.
path of least resistance and fear of failure, and
And the easy
um
carrots.
yeah, get the easy carrots. Now we're
Yeah,
gonna go get carrots.
identifying. Are you doing this just because it's the easy
Yeah.
thing, or are you doing this because it feels good, because it's the flow state, because it's
Mm-hmm.
leading you where you want to go? So often
Yeah.
we have these like weird little detours that are not aligned with what we actually want. And so it's,
Yeah.
yeah, it's paying attention to that.
Paying attention to it.
Yeah.
I love it. All
Me
right.
too.
Same time, same place next week.
Sure thing.
We'll do it again.
See you then. Bye, everybody. Thank you
Bye.
for
Bye, guys. Thanks
coming.
for joining.